Everybody, as you come in, welcome, welcome. If you would, as you come in, please just drop your name into the chat and where you are joining us from. Salam alaikum, Sabrine. Hi, Denise from Uruguay. That's awesome. We're going to give it just a few minutes and let people join here. We have quite a few people that have signed up. We want to make sure we're giving enough time. We're a little early. Hi, Manar. Welcome. Salam alaikum. Sabrina, I'm in Saudi too.
Hello, welcome to our first session of Ramadan micro learning session. Please keep your mics and camera off during the session. And if you have any question, we will have 10 minutes for question and answer in the end of the session. Hello, Mrs. Chassie, how are you?
I'm good, Rabada. How are you?
Hi. Chassie Saloom is an indigenous Appalachian American educational disruptor from North Carolina, USA. She's passionate about teaching and learning. She has been educator for 23 years. Chassie has been teacher, instructional leader, educational consultant, textbook content editor, curriculum coordinator, vice principal, executive principal, and the director of learning at American School. Throughout the US and the main region, Chassie is the founder of the Appalachian American Academy, Morocco, a virtual American curriculum school in Morocco, and is currently principal at MLS Riyadh. She is currently the chairperson of the steering committee of the GCC ASCD Contact Community and vice chairperson of the board of governance of Copperstone Education and a mentor of GLEAC. Chairperson motto is attitude is constancy, but the reason someone smile, her professional motto, engaging minds, bridging cultures, and shaping future. Hello, Mrs. Chetty, how are you?
I'm good. How are you tonight? Thank you so much for the introduction. So welcome everyone. Again, my name is Dr. Chassie Selouane. I am the CEO and founder of Appalachian American Academy Global. We are a digital first American curriculum community. Currently, we are grades 6 through we say 6 through 20 because we go to an associate's degree. As of next year, we're really excited to be moving into the K through 20 realm. So ideally, a student could start at our school in kindergarten and go all the way through their associate's degree in university. So welcome everyone. I am also the current principal of MLS International here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So tonight, I'm really excited to kick off our Ramadan micro learning series here for Teacher Jen. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about educational disruption. So what I normally introduce myself as is that I am an educational disruptor. And we're going to talk a little bit about what does that mean? What is educational disruption? And that we're rethinking learning for the 21st century. And I'm really fortunate that I've had the opportunity to be doing that for I would say the past 10 years, so about a decade, and getting ahead of the learning curve. So what we're going to talk about tonight is why should we disrupt education? We're going to go over a little overview about what education disruption is. We're going to explore a little bit about the technological advancements and innovative practices and fundamentally altering the educational landscape. And we're going to actually talk about the identification of key pillars in educational disruption, why the traditional models of schooling are no longer serving our diverse and evolving needs. Our education must start making a shift. Coming out of the pandemic, we've learned that. And so our world is changing rapidly. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. But first, I know that she read a little bit about me, but let me tell you just a little bit, who is Chassie? So I'm a wife, I'm a mother. I am an Indigenous Appalachian American. So most people will say, oh, wow, your English is really good, especially in this region where I've been for the past 15 years. I am American. I'm Indigenous American. I was born and raised in Cherokee, North Carolina. And my family, my born family is only from the region, from their Appalachian settlers from 400 years ago and Indigenous Cherokee natives of the United States. I am a lifelong learner. I do have multiple degrees, and it's mostly because it does serve me as an educator. We talk about how our education is evolving and changing, and that's exactly what we have to do. We have to be lifelong learners in order to evolve and change. I am very happily and honored to say that I was a Guest Award winner, and I was a 5-time nominee in multiple categories. I am an American curriculum specialist. American curriculum is what I'm known for. I have worked in K-12 American curriculum with the American Common Core, with IB, for the past 23 years. I really, truly believe that relationships are foundational to good teaching and learning. You can never have good teaching and learning without relationships. Curriculum is secondary. So I start out by saying, I'm an American curriculum specialist. I'm an expert, but I truly believe that we can never catch kids from their mind if we can't catch their heart first. Kids don't learn from people they don't like, point blank. And I'm an educational disruptor, and that's what we're going to dig into a little bit tonight. So what is this as an educational disruptor? So instead of me taking and talking more, we do always say we try to have 7 minutes of talk and then an activity. We're going to kind of go away from that tonight in a more traditional style, which I hate to do, but unfortunately this is the nature of the webinar. But I am going to step back for a minute, and I want you to meet my virtual avatar. And I use this a lot within my school systems. And this is my virtual avatar. And so virtual Dr. Chassie is going to explain the definition of educational disruption. And when she starts, if you hear her, please just drop a thumbs up in the chat. I want to make sure that you hear her and I'm not just letting it go on. I identify as an educational disruptor. This term refers to individuals or organizations who bring or desire to bring significant changes to the traditional education system through innovative technologies or methodologies. They disrupt or challenge the existing educational practices and systems by introducing new approaches that can transform the way education is delivered and experienced. Most importantly, educational disruptors are vocal advocates for systematic change in education. They are not afraid to share their insights, research, and experiences with other educators and policymakers. They are passionate and dedicated to being lifelong learners themselves and being role models, not only for their students, but their colleagues and the world around them. They live the change they want to see. I've spent the past decade working to challenge traditional teaching methods and structures. I have experimented widely with new techniques, technologies, and pedagogies that can transform learning. I love working with educators and students around the world, and I have a strong commitment and am eager to participate in creating a vibrant learning community bound by strong relationships, driven by passion for learning, and dedicated to preparing thoughtful, compassionate, and capable individuals ready to lead in a diverse and changing world. Again, my name is Chassie Virginia Dietz Selouane. I am an educational disruptor, and this is my educational philosophy. Thanks for listening. I identify as an. There we go. Sometimes she likes to keep talking. So what is the theory of educational disruption? And this is what we're going to dig into now, is that disruptive education refers to an innovative approach that learning that challenges the traditional education model. It seeks to create new and more effective ways of educating individuals. A disruption is a sudden break or interruption. And this is what an education disruptor is. Basically, we are trying to change the look, the feel, what education should be. It is no more about preparing students for an industrial position. We are now learning, we have to learn about concepts. We have to learn really breaking the traditional pedagogies and bringing forth like inquiry-based learning, skills-based learning, competency-based learning. It is really important that we break away from these conventional, traditional methods of technology, because especially as we're embracing the new technologies. So, this is becoming in national agendas around the world, trying to move forward. We learned a lot in COVID. And, the way that students are learning today are not the same that they were learning just simply a few short years ago. A disruptor is a person or a form of technology that causes significant change in an industry or a market by means of innovation. So when we say we are educational disruptors, that's what teachers should be. We are bringing forth this change, this significant change, this new ideas, and changing the way teaching and learning looks. Now, what are these key pillars of education disruption? Important key pillars: it cannot exist without student agency, competency-based education, flexible and blended learning models, data-driven instruction, and AI integration. Teacher role model, our teacher role looks completely different now. It's got to be completely reimagined. The job descriptions of standing in front of a classroom and knowing all of the facts has moved away from that. Equity and inclusion and in learning. This is so important. So let me dig into these really quick. So fostering student engagement and learning. Now, we've got to work on empowering choice and voice. Empowering student choice and voice means implementing strategies that give students more control over their learning processes by increasing their motivation and engagement. We need to develop curiosity in their learning, using technology and leveraging the technology tools to support self-directed exploration and personalized learning engagement. We've got to these engaging learning models by introducing gamification, interactive platforms, blended learning environments, things that make it more dynamic, learning more dynamic and more enjoyable for students. We mentioned briefly earlier, collaborative and inquiry-based, project-based learning with an emphasis on teamwork, these executive functioning skills that are needed in the real world to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The continuum of voice is something that this is a great little sketch note by Sylvia Duckworth that was adapted from the Student Center Hub that talks a little bit about the continuum of voice, that students must in order to have voice, they must have expression, they must have consultation, they must have participation, they must have partnerships, they must have activism, and they must have leadership. And this is how we move from teacher-centered to learner-centered to learner-driven. Now, here's some myths about student agency. Agency is not a lack of control and structure. Student choice should be encouraged, but within the set expectations. Supervision and guidance are still needed in a classroom. It's not just turning students loose and letting them learn whatever. There needs to be very specific expectations set on what they should be doing in each guideline. Agency is not about less work for teachers. It actually means that teachers are more intentional in the instruction. So that means we're kind of tailoring it. We are individualizing the learning to provide meaningful learning opportunities and ongoing feedback. Agency is not about working independently all the time. Students must learn how to work together. And so these tasks a student can demonstrate agency not only through those independent tasks, but through group activities, collaborative projects, discussions. It's really important to remember that agency is not just individual work. Agency can be individual or collaborative. Agency is not defined by time alone. Okay, this is also something very important. It does not mean that we should extend a unit of study. It's not guaranteed. This is not guaranteed. What we have to do is we have to make sure that in the units of studies that we're creating for our students, that it engages, it challenges, and motivates each student. The most important myth, I think, that people tend to think is that agency is not exclusive, that only advanced students can have agency, but this is not the case. Regardless of academic or personal progress, student agency can benefit students of all ages, all ability levels. Creating safe and inclusive environment is essential for student agency. Now, let's move into competency-based education. We have to be honest with ourselves that the students that we're teaching, I mentioned this earlier today, are not the students we were teaching, honestly, even last year. So rethinking learning for the 21st century with competency-based education. And we've got to harness these personalized and technology shifts from teacher-led to student-driven. Personalized learning means tailoring education to the individual student needs. We need to use and leverage the adaptive technology. And by using this adaptive technology, then we can actually get better data-driven teaching. So when we were talking a little bit about digging in and creating more personalized learning opportunities for the students, we can do this by using the data to drive instruction for these personalized learning paths based on the strengths and the interests of the students. And by finding and using the strengths and then filling the gaps using the data. The technology with adaptive learning experiences such as augmented and virtual reality, this gives students chances to learn things that you wouldn't normally see in a traditional classroom. It allows us also to move away from these time-based progression to mastery-based learning. We want the students to master the skills, not memorize from page 12 to page 346. We want the students to be able to demonstrate the knowledge in real-world applications, and we eventually do want to pull back on that, reducing the reliance on standardized tests. We're not going to school just to memorize for a test and to take a test. Now, how do we do that? We do that through hybrid models, combining online and in-person learning. We do that through flipped classroom, project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, real-world problem solving, week without walls. We need to make the learning accessible anytime and anywhere. In traditional classrooms, a teacher most only has access to some of the data of the students. In the classrooms of the future, if we're using flexible and blended learning with data-driven instruction and AI integration, we have, as a teacher, we will have access to critical student information that will affect the whole child. So I wanted to just kind of touch really quick on 5 key components of how to make the learning more personalized. Through flexibility, teachers personalize the learning, personalize learning for students while also helping personalizing the teacher's own learning. This is also a flip and we'll talk a little bit more about that down when we talk about reimagining the teacher's role. But teachers can learn alongside with their students. We're not expected to know everything, but it's great sometimes, and it's a really bonding. We talked about connection and relationships. It's really great sometimes to learn alongside your students. So teachers can personalize learning through flexibility. Students need the ability to learn on their own terms, anytime, anywhere. It's about the how, the when, and the why they learn. And the why is the next step into empowering. Students should have the freedom to make choices and be active in the learning process. And by extension, they have impact on other learning interactions. They should have a say in their learning interactions. When we talk about tailored, then the student's personal needs are matched with the specific content, with the instruction, and by considering each student's strengths, their needs, their interests, and to customize the learning opportunity. Also, to kind of think about the students on learning preferences, whether it's a visual, a kinesthetic, an auditory learner, whether they are neurodivergent or neurotypical, and then mastery-based. And the mastery-based, this allows students to be evaluated on proficiency in their key subject areas against the defined standards. This is a better way of understanding where your students are excelling, where they're making progress, and where they're struggling. And then finally, the learner agency. When students have a sense of agency or a degree of control, they typically are more motivated, engaged, and interested and invested in their education. So this flexible blended learning with data-driven instruction, how do we do that? This is through innovative learning environments, through advanced technology. This is your digital platforms, your AI learning platforms, your interactive displays, AI machine learning tools. I know there's a lot of debate right now about AI. And, here's the thing. It's a tool. We need to be teaching the students the ethics and the responsibility behind it. Interactive learning spaces. Our learning spaces should be designed to foster collaboration and creativity among students, flexible seatings, module setups. The classroom should be ebb and flow with the needs of the teacher and the students, not necessarily just the teacher. Personalized learning environments, we need to make that shift towards the tailored educational experience that cater to the individual student's needs and learning styles. And sustainability and accessibility. This is crucial. We need to incorporate sustainable materials and and make sure our classrooms fully accessible for students of all ability levels. So what are these benefits of the data-driven instruction and AI integration? It's enhanced learning experiences, and it includes enhanced engagement and interaction, technology, AI-driven personalized learning recommendations. It's through technology in the classroom, increasing engagement, dynamics, interactive learning experiences that will lead to improved accessibility because the digital tools then help tailor. When we talk about differentiating and meeting the needs of our students, I know that tiered support is often very hard within classrooms because the students are multiple levels. And if you're using the right programs, it makes the meeting the diverse needs of these educational needs of your students more inclusive. And then we talk about progress and attainment a lot. And so by using data-driven instruction with AI integration to help fill the gaps for the students and help to extend the learning for the students, the strength That gives us evidence of improved outcomes. Studies are already showing that appropriate use of technology in education leads to better learning outcomes and higher student achievements. And in the end, that gives us with the ultimate goal of personalized learning using data and AI adaptation. So what's the difference between personalized learning and personalized education? Personalized learning is differentiation. It is spearheaded by the teacher within the classroom, within the lessons, within the adjusted based on the student, and often it's limited student data. But personalized education empowers the administrators, the educators, and families to tailor student-centered education, bringing all the resources, multiple data sources, and software tools to make informed decisions. So now we're on to a very important role. The reimagining of the role of teachers. Now, you notice in this image, what's missing from the image? There's not a teacher leading the learning. The students are. Teachers are going to be taking on, and they have been for the past, I would say 15 years or so, a more facilitator role, but they're also going to become more mentors, more coaches. They're going to be learning alongside with the students. You know, we need to be addressing the digital divide. We need to understand that there is complexities in changing the role of teachers. We need to ensure that students have access to quality education. We need to be supporting the diverse learning styles and the neurodiversity in the classroom. And we need to be bridging the digital divide with accessible technology. And so we also need to address the fact that most of the teachers are digital immigrants, and we are teaching digital natives. And so we need to look at what professional developments, and we need to be more vocal and empowering our teachers to speak out about what they need, what they need to adapt to the new educational methodologies. We also, as we move to a more AI integrated, data-driven, we need to think about our privacy and data security, because we as schools will have to implement robust security measures to protect the students' data, our teachers' data, to uphold the privacy standards and safeguarding, right? As more and more information is out there on the net, we need to make sure that we are doing due diligence to digitally safeguard our students, not only physically. And adapting, again, I briefly mentioned that about adapting the teaching methods, training the educators to effectively use new technologies and adapt the evolving educational tools. We've got to make sure that we are using these tools ethically and responsibly, and that we're using tools that are relevant to our learners. This is something that's really important when we are disrupting education. We don't want to just be using technology to be using it. It needs to be purposeful. It needs to be meaningful. So how do we do this, right? What are some challenges in this? And that, to be honest, we need to pause and reflect about it. We need to take a moment to consider our presentations, and we need to think about, you know, and normally at this point, I would ask us to, you know, discuss. And, you know, if you'd like to drop into the chat, maybe something that you have found challenging in either technology or post-COVID, going back into the classroom, from going out of the classroom online and going back into the classroom, or something that you find challenging with hybrid learning. These are things that we want to pause and reflect. We want to take a moment to consider. And as we are going through these presentations this next month, I want you to just consider these presentations. It says encountered today, but it should say encountered over the month. Now, you know, on actionable takeaways, I want you to kind of open a notepad Okay. And I want you, if you're going to, because ideally we want you to attend all 4 sessions of this Ramadan micro learning series. And I want you to keep a notepad, and over the next 4 sessions, I want you to write down at least 4 key insights you have from each presentation. And I want you to think about, how can I actively take something from this presentation and implement it into my life, into my practice, into my school. And then I want you to leave with at the end of this Ramadan micro learning series, I want you to leave with a commitment to change. I want you to challenge yourself to incorporate these things into your learning, into your community, your learning community. And I want you to work towards fostering this engaging, effective, a more unique and different learning environment. So with that, we are actually coming up right at 11:30. And so the future of disruptive education is that education must be engaging, it must be relevant, and it must be effective. Schools need agility, they need continuous improvement and collaboration. And our goal is no longer just to pass a test. Our goal should be preparing our students for life, not just tests. And so the journey ahead, I want to leave you guys with a call to action. And in this call to action, I want you, as educators and influencers in the education section, I want you to remember that we're tasked with creating these insights to create more inclusive, engaging, personalized environments. I want you to keep encouraging educators to explore, to integrate. Remember, we're going to fail. It's okay. We just need to keep pushing forward to better engage our students and improve learning and learn alongside with our students. And I'd like everyone to remember that the future is now. I want us to commit to embracing the innovations that shape the future of education, making it more accessible, engaging, and effective for every learner. And with that, Dr. Stephen Covey is one of my heroes. And this is my final thought is, we only have one chance to prepare our children for a world that none of us can possibly predict. What will we do with that one chance? We have very big jobs, and the future is now. So with that, do we have any questions? We can open up the mic, and would love if you have any questions or any comments.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Good evening,
salam.
everyone. Good evening, Chassie. Thank you for this very insightful and very timely webinar. It was very illuminating, to say the least. So I'll just cut to my question, to be quick so that others can get a chance. I'm an English teacher. Specifically, I'm an English language arts teacher in one of the international schools here in Saudi Arabia. So my question is, it has to do with as you mentioned, the curriculum that I teach is the American curriculum, Common Core curriculum. So I have the past 3-4 years now, I have heavily invested in basically understanding the curriculum and then delivering it to my students in a, integrating all the skills, the skills that you just mentioned now. So my question has to do with the credibility of the content that these books contain against the demographics of the Saudi Arabian society. So how can we, I guess I'm looking for ways to, to be more effective in the classroom, because and like all of us know that the American Common Core curriculum basically focuses on inquiry-based learning and fostering critical thinking. So there naturally a lot of questions, come from my students that, that has basically keeps me thinking on how to respond to it. There's a big cultural difference with where they come from. And also, like, they ask you questions that you kind of find yourself difficult, they put you in difficult situation in the classroom. I think, and I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I don't want to go into details.
No,
So
no,
how
no.
can
I
we?
think I understand. I think
Yeah.
because you're relying too much on textbooks. And this is
Mm.
the thing, because if you're teaching the standards, you won't have that problem. If you're truly teaching just to the standards and not to a text. Okay, so if you take the standards and you can adapt the standards, for example, one of the ways that we adapt, because I use California Common Core, and California Common Core, it will say, let's say I'm going to use like the social studies standards. It'll say like learn and identify, you know, U.S. American history from this particular time frame, right? I wouldn't teach U.S. American history. I would then, at that point, I would change it to say learn and identify Saudi Arabian history. It's adapting the standard to meet the cultural needs. And this is the thing, it's a skill. So you've got to think about it as a skill. So, you know, if you're looking at informative writing, I'm not sure what grade levels you teach, but if you're looking at a 5-paragraph essay, right, and or a research paper, you guide them towards topics. Again, remember what I said, it's not about giving them a free-for-all. It's about setting expectations and guidelines, right? So you set the rubric, but they can choose the topic within reason. Does that make sense?
Yes, 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 it does. It
And
does. So
and if
basically, it's restructuring the curriculum and making it fit to the, you know, to,
So, well, you're
yeah.
not restructuring the curriculum at all, Sabrina, and this is a common mistake for people that aren't,
Mm,
like if you ask, say, okay, what curriculum do you use, right? The correct answer is American Common Core to whatever standard. But what happens a lot of time, especially in the region, people will say, oh, well, we use Harcourt or we use McGraw-Hill or we use That's not a curriculum. That is a curriculum tool. And so a textbook is only a tool. What you use is you use the curriculum standards and you use framework like IB or Cambridge tied in with certain curriculum standards. Does that make sense?
It
So,
does. It does.
so I think and I hope this answers your question, but what I would suggest is trying to look at more relatable topics. For example, you know, we cut some of it, but like our grade 7 girls right now are doing A Long Walk to Water as a study. And so they're learning about Sudan and back in, you know, not now, but what happened previously. And they're reading an actual biography. So you know, using things that the students can relate to. Does that make sense?
I understand. Yeah, yeah, it
And
does make sense. Thank you.
that are culturally appropriate. And so that's where we'll always need a teacher, because we'll always need a teacher to make it culturally relevant to whatever community we're in. Right. So you don't, just because it's in that particular Americanized textbook doesn't mean you have to use it. You can find all sorts of different things that the kids relate to. For example, like my grade 3s right now, they are writing a persuasive paragraph, and they are writing to local football clubs trying to persuade the players to come in and visit our school. Right.
Yes.
But they're still meeting the standards of grade 3. So it's just all about you thinking outside of the box as well, and working to find, you know, what the kids do. You don't be stuck to the textbook. That's my advice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chassie.
Anyone else? Thank you, Sabrina, for that great question.
You're welcome, dear.
If you're shy and you don't want to talk, you can actually drop your question into the chat box as well. thank you guys all for coming. Now remember that there are 3 more sessions during Ramadan. There's the 18th, the 21st, and the 28th. You do have to attend all of those sessions in order to get your certificate from Teacher Jen. So I just want to kind of remind everyone there. Thank you, Sabrina. Again, wonderful question. Anyone else? Absolutely. So my email is on here. Directly, it's director@appalachianamericanacademy.org. So I'll type it into in there for you. My contact email is there. My WhatsApp is on there as well. I will also, you can also catch me on through my school email as well, which I'll type in here for you. Any other questions? I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Narmeen. And Manar, I did drop it in there so you can just copy and paste it. Okay, wonderful. Anyone else? Feel free to, you can follow me on LinkedIn if you would like. You can just type in Chassie Selouane on LinkedIn, and I'm available for questions there.
Hello, Dr. Cassie. Can I have a question? A quick
Sure,
question.
Nermeen, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I'm actually new to teaching. I just started teaching this year. I was an admin all of my life, actually, in the schools. So, as I'm new, I'm trying to learn as much as I can in teaching methodology. So I'm teaching kind of, it's not a core subject, but it's an initiative. If you know about the SDG, United Nations initiative, we made it as a subject and we teach it in our school in Egypt, here in Cairo, a school called KVS. And I'm teaching them this initiative. So does whatever you said apply to other subject, like activities and other subject, not just the core subject?
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
actually trying to do this, but I was just making sure that it's right.
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. And the SDG goals are a great way to really jump off and not go from a textbook, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Don't have
you
actually a
can
textbook. I actually make up every session out of the goals. I just take the main goals as a standard and I go out of it to try to give the students as much as a general look about the whole world through the 17 goals.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now, do you guys, are you guys participating in the Model UN?
No, not actually. We're just we took the initiative as a way to step into the what to make the student know whatever is happening around the world from the perspective out of the policy, the political issues. It's like more
Okay,
emphasis
wonderful.
on
Well,
the
you may
environmental.
So if you're not using the Model UN, you may want to look into that. Okay, I'll type it in here.
Yeah.
And it's Model UN, or MUN is what they call it. MUN, the Model UN.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have it all
Yeah.
throughout it. It's worldwide. There's conferences. They actually will then go in and they research a lot of these SDG goals. They go in and they lobby. They learn about lobbying, and it's using debate skills. It's using the real life executive skills that we're talking about. So you may want to look
Yeah.
into that to help you with because if you at least do some research on the Model UN, that may actually help you with
Yeah.
your SDG class.
Yeah,
So
that's great advice. Thank you so much. I didn't know that they are related.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you could actually have them prepare bills based on the SDG goals.
Yes.
You know, just be as creative with it as possible. So
Okay.
yeah, no, it applies, honestly, it applies to every single subject. Don't be so bogged down in a textbook. You know, make that real life connection and you know, it's amazing. It's amazing what and ask the kids. You know, look at the goals and say, okay, how can we do something with this? You know, sometimes
Yeah.
the kids, they'll shock you, you know?
Yeah, they do. They do. They are amazing. They do. I just whatever's happening around the world, they are not so focused into the gaming and this whole world, but they really astonish me, especially the young ones. I actually teach from year 6 to year 10. The year 6 are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've got so ironically back in 2015, I had a group of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders come to me and say, Miss Chassie, we want to learn robotics. I'm an English and social studies and a theater teacher. You know, I'm not a robotics teacher. And
Yeah.
but I had taught these particular middle schoolers when they were in 4th and 5th grade. Okay. And
Oh.
so some of the 8th graders came back and they were like, Miss Chassie, really, really want to learn robotics. Nobody will host us. And I was director of teaching and learning at the time. And I said, guys, I know nothing about it. How do you want me to sponsor your robotics team, right? And and they were like, Miss Chassie, you used to tell us if we can research it, we can find it out. We can learn it. And they used my words against me.
Okay.
So of course I had told them that. I did. That's always been if Miss Chassie doesn't know it, we'll learn it together, right? So
Yeah.
Miss Chassie ended up learning how to code with a group of kids. They went on to become the national junior robotics team winners for the World Education Robotics Competition for the UAE. They ended up going to China and placing 2nd place in the world.
Wow.
And so they will amaze you every single time. And it's all, we did not know anything about coding. We did not know anything about robotics. Everything we taught ourselves.
Wow.
So
Great.
so it is possible, just always pick their brain and give them the agency. This is how I became an educational disruptor, not because of me wanting to. It was literally something that I learned from learning alongside with my kids and seeing when I would jump in and learn new skills that I had no clue about. And then we would go on and be super successful. It really becomes really meaningful to them. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does so much. Thank you so much. That was very enlightening, actually.
Is there anyone else? Because I know we're a little bit over now. We're about 16 minutes over. If you're free to leave if you'd like, I can stick around for maybe about 5 more minutes. Yeah, are there any other questions? Or comments? Bye, Denise. All right, if there isn't any more questions or comments, I will go ahead and we will take our leave, Ms. Radwa.
Thank you, Mrs. Chassie, for wonderful session. Thank you for your effort.
You're very welcome. Thank you everyone for coming and look forward to chatting with you. Feel free to drop me emails. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn and I will happily respond. You can drop me if you think of any questions or anything, feel free to drop me a note on LinkedIn, okay? Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.